You're honest and you say, that's got to go, things like that. When we started this, we thought, hey, why don't we have people just jump in as we go? And what we found is obviously a lot of people don't yet know about Blab, and at 9:30 at night, a lot of people don't want to be visually seen. They want to share.
Yep.
And so that's why we have the sidebar. That's why we love to do this on Blab. I think we'll do it on Blab, regardless of how far it goes. So if you have any questions tonight that you want us to talk about, or any comments, or if you want to call myself a bumbling idiot, you're welcome to do that in the sidebar, and you're welcome to call Hanley whatever you would like to call him. Just make sure you call him Hanley, because he'll be offended otherwise. Other than that, anything that's pertinent that we need to address, Hanley's?
Did you see? This is a little sneak peek. This is why you gotta show up to the live show here. This is a potential cover art here. This is the concept.
Yeah.
Concept.
It actually showed pretty well with you doing the.
Yeah. Here's another concept. Oh, no, we got a little reflection there. There we go. There's another concept. None of these are happening yet. I'm being texted images as our designer creates them, since I called him today in a panic going, dude, we had to push back the launch of our show another week because I couldn't pull the cover art together.
Yeah, so you know how it is. So Hanley, let's talk about New Year's resolutions.
Yeah. Here's my question to you.
Okay.
Why do so many self-help gurus hate resolutions?
First of all, has it entered into the 4-letter word phase of its existence?
I have this really bad habit of calling them Rockstar Ninja Gurus.
Rockstar Ninja Gurus.
Because I feel like, I feel like that's all part of the same. Like, if you at any time had in your Twitter profile like social media rockstar, then
you should be disbarred from social media membership.
No, but you should be publicly chastised for that. Like, it should be okay to publicly shame you. Just a little, not a lot, just a little. Like there could be like you called yourself a rock star that one time, and we all remember it. And I think that should be okay.
Let me tell you what, I love New Year's resolutions, and I think they're getting a bad. Like, I would love to do a live poll of who's got this. Of who's got these negative vibes. I was literally listening to a talk the other day, Hanley, where somebody said, you shouldn't set resolutions. You should just do it, which is nice. Just doing the thing is nice, but it's like if there's a catalyst event that wakes us up and makes us actually take action, I'm all about it. Everybody gives the people that go to the gym in January a hard time. Okay, but they're going to the gym. They're going to the gym. So
they're there.
So that's great. So who are we to say they should or should not go to the gym? It's like everybody gets on them. Well, so what if you've been going to the gym for 12 years? Who cares?
I understand the thought process here. The thought process here is don't wait for New Year's to make the change, because if you weren't willing to make it a week ago, there's nothing intrinsically different about January 1st that's going to make a New Year's resolution happen. That being said, I think that in order to do anything, most people need a catalyst of some sort. And if your catalyst is looking back on 2015 and feeling unhappy with certain things that may have happened, and that moment in time gives you this launch point, I see nothing wrong with them. I only see something wrong with them, as you do with setting any goal, is if you set a goal for yourself, which is essentially what a resolution is, and you don't do the things you need to do to make it happen, right? So there's nothing intrinsically wrong with resolutions. There are things, the problem is making a resolution and then not following through on it. So I think we're it's like we're pointing at the what's that saying? We're pointing at the symptoms and not solving the problem. We're looking at the symptoms and going, don't set resolutions. Well, not following through on resolutions is a symptom of a larger problem, which is you can't carry through on your goals. You don't have persistence, or maybe you've just set the wrong goals or don't know how to set them. So that's my thing. I feel like we're bashing on resolutions when really resolutions is just a good time. It's just a good time to set goals. That's
Look
all.
at it. Jim Rohn used to always talk about seasons of life, seasons of business. All right. So for me, like, I found myself at the beginning of December, I was starting to reflect back on the year. And plus, I was looking into January, February, March saying, okay, what do we have on the books? Why are we doing well, or why are we doing poorly, or why are we where we are? So like Bridget said in the sidebar here of Blab, a lot of it has to do with where our business is. And the end of year is a very natural reflection time. For me, it's a very reflective time because we're able to see the culmination of the year and we're able to take a break. And usually inspiration happens not when we're in the grind, but when we step away from the grind. And so that's the problem with people getting off on everybody having resolutions, man. I looked up, okay, this is what I did the other day. I don't know if you can see it, Hanley. Okay, that's my board right there. That's my board of I'm showing on the screen of resolutions. Not really just, these are like, okay, here's my goals. Doc on the sidebar says goals. I'm fine with goals. Although to me, I take, and everybody's different, I just take them a little bit more seriously. I think there's power behind the seasons. And to me right now, this season, I've just gone through the season of self-reflection, getting mad, getting a little bit disgusted, right? Because that's how my mind works. I get fired up. You've gone through this as well. You and I talk about this. Right? Disgust is a powerful thing, right? So I might sit there and say, I'm pleased with this, but man, I'm disgusted with this, and this is going to change. I'm going to do something about this. I'm all for it. I think we should celebrate it. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I'm with you. We can move on.
Let's talk about.
There's nothing wrong with resolutions and policy chat.
And Hanley and I don't always agree. I mean, half the time the guy is completely wrong. Okay, so news for nerds. News for nerds. I am noticing, I don't know about you, and I'm curious to see what our live audience. I'm noticing way more Facebook ads in my stream. Are you noticing? Yep. Are you noticing that, Hanley? So the question is, it seems like every sixth thing that I'm seeing, every sixth one is some type of targeted Facebook ad. Too many people have been reading John Loomer stuff, and now everybody wants to do targeted Facebook ads, apparently. So here's my question. And that's just, by the way, John Loomer is the guy you want to go to. For those that aren't familiar with him, he's an amazing person. JohnLoomer.com. Mr. Facebook himself.
Baseball guy.
Yeah, and a baseball guy and a great dad. The question is this, Hanley, that I have. Are we seeing more ads because Facebook is intentionally showing more because they need the money? Or are we seeing more ads because people are finally learning that Facebook targeting can be really, really effective? Or is it both?
I think it's a combination of both, but I think it's more the second thing that you said. I think it's easier today. I think there's two things. I think the realities of diminished organic reach are hitting brands.
What is the number? 2%?
Right? I think
2%
organic
reach right now?
I have some. Yeah, I have some. I'm going to click over to some stats. I got some really cool stats here. I'm going to put this article in the sidebar. It's on Contently, and very, very cool about organic reach and paying for social. So essentially, John Loomer, and I love John, and this is not knocking him anyway. When he first started his platform, Facebook ads were hard. It was like Power Editor. You'd download a special program and you could only use it in Chrome. And then there was uploading and there was all this different stuff that had to go on. And you had to be like a brain surgeon to get ads out onto Facebook. And he walked you through that, made it very simple. Today, it is so much easier. Like I was telling you, I have an ad that I'm running for Agency Nation, the insurance platform that I run. And I've been running continuously for about a month. It links to a ebook for LinkedIn, and I'm getting new email subscribers for anywhere between 89 cents and $1.11 per subscriber, not per person who clicks through, but per subscriber. I'm pretty happy with that number, and I just run it continuously because I'll just crank new subscribers. I'll pay $100 for 100 new email subscribers. I'll pay that today based on the engagement that I get out of our newsletter. So, and I set that up myself. So it's like, it was incredibly easy to do. I walked through it. I did some targeting. I did couple different little tweaks in there, which they walk you through, and it became super easy. So I'm not a Facebook advertising rockstar ninja guru, right? I'm just a dude, and I figured it out. I walked through the process and figured it out, and have been fairly successful. Not as successful as it could be, but fairly successful.
What's the tipping point though for users? Okay. Because and by the way, if you have not, we've talked about this a little bit, but AdBlock Plus, okay, we've mentioned it. So there's a desktop version of AdBlock, ABP. You can Google it, AdBlock Plus. And there's an Android version, I believe iPhone version. And it makes for, let's be honest, a dramatically better search experience. These babies are great. If you read some of these like Huffington Post types of sites that are just they just totally jack you up when you are
Forbes.
Yeah, Forbes is another. There's some of them are just you just feel like you're overwhelmed. And you can't your device can't even work because it's overloaded. It's just a cluster. You know what? So now. Yep. You've got AdBlock Plus. The thing has been AdBlock Plus. Here's what's interesting about it, Hanley. It's been downloaded over 300 million times as a browser extension. 300 million people. Now, you and I both know that most people don't even know that there's these things called browser extensions. Now, granted, there's but there's millions of people that don't know that what a browser extension is. Like my mom doesn't know what a browser extension is yet. But there's 300 million people that have already downloaded this one extension, Hanley, on their desktop so that they can have a better search experience. I think it's pretty amazing. My point is, I don't know if Facebook can keep running every six ad in your stream or sixth thing that you see in your stream. I don't know if that can be a targeted ad, man. I don't know, man. I mean, I love Michael Hyatt, but I'm seeing Michael Hyatt every time I go on Facebook.
Yeah, no. So I'm with you too. So to a certain extent, I feel like I think Facebook needs to do a better job of allowing you to remove certain posts from your stream, right? I know if you click the caret, you can show hide this or don't show me another ad from this company. You can do that and start to filter out the ads out of your stream. But you have to click a button to get to a button. And I always talk about the LinkedIn Pulse app, but there's a bunch of these where you can it should just be like something easy, like a swipe left and boom, that advertiser doesn't show up in your stream anymore. Like if I see an ad from someone I don't like in my Facebook stream, in that moment, click, I never want to see that ad again. So, because now that's one less company that can target me, because I'm intrinsically against ad blocking, because I feel like ad blocking is the death of free content.
I know you and I are digital marketers, right? Digital marketers, and you can whitelist it, right? So hypothetically, you could say, I want to see the ads on this particular thing, but I don't want to see ads here, which one would call a little bit oxymoronic. I understand the deal. And by the way, on Facebook, it doesn't get rid of the ads that are in your stream. We're just talking about certain pop-ups and things that it gets rid of. But on some of those sites like Forbes, where it literally they've managed to destroy the user experience, that's where I don't have as much of a problem, simply because I am dying trying to get through that one stinking article. Well, I've got to go,
Here's how you do it. Don't go to Forbes anymore. I don't go to Forbes anymore. When I see in the preview that Forbes has, and I hope someone from Forbes is listening to this and gives a crap, because if I see in the preview of the article it's from Forbes, I will not go there.
Because you know it's a definitely UX.
Because I know it is horrifying to go and try to read something on desktop. Now on mobile, it's different. They haven't destroyed the mobile experience yet. But if I'm on my desktop computer and I see an ad to Forbes, I will not go there. I literally won't click the ad. it or click the link, even if it's something I want to read, because they have destroyed.
So
I mean, I don't think
tipping point of ad destruction. Is there, and there's got to be an algorithm. It sounds silly and nerdy, but there's got to be an algorithm here behind it. I would love to know what it is. So let's move on.
Yeah.
Dude.
No, I know. I'm with you.
Dude, we got some cool tech things happening right now that I think are powerfully symbolic about business. You sent me an article. You sent me an article when we were looking at what we wanted to talk about today. And it was on the Washington Post, why GM's investment in Lyft is such a big deal. So, Hanley, you want to give everybody the lowdown on the quick summation of this article and your thoughts? Because to me, this is a big deal for all of us. Everybody that's listening to this, there's so many lessons behind it. I just got to talk about it. It's to me, it's way bigger than transportation. This is about business.
Oh yeah. So the long and short of it is that General Motors invested $500 million in Lyft, which is Uber's biggest competitor. And I want to read two. Read two paragraphs of this article. They're very short. It's like 3 sentences. What began as a race to turn driverless cars into a mainstream technology is now moving on to its next stage before the first has even finished, which the first being just how do you make a car move and navigate without someone in it? Okay. This next fight is all about shaping the business model of personal mobility, that dream future of instant access to a personal taxi you don't have to pay or own. We see the future of personal mobility as connected, seamless, and autonomous, said GM president Dan whatever, who cares. So here's my very high level breakdown. And again, well, real quick, Jed just asked me, would I write a guest post for Forbes? If they asked me if they gave me a do follow back link, I ain't ashamed. So but plus people on mobile would actually get it and it would be good. Yes. I will sell my soul. I'm not afraid. So here's my thing with Lyft. So what is happening here is that driverless cars, the way these companies are starting to view driverless cars, and this whole idea is we're moving towards what they're realizing is that the technology isn't the thing. This is what I took from this article. The technology isn't the thing. It's these companies are starting to look at these automotive companies, are starting to look at people don't want driverless cars. They don't want to have to think about driving, right? That's the thing. That's the crux of the driverless car, is that I want to be able to talk to my family, talk to friends, do work, have a cup of coffee, and focus just on that thing. I don't want to, you know what I mean? Versus driverless cars means nothing to me. What are driverless cars? Okay. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to me. What means something to me is what I read in this was I read benefits, not features. And the feature stage of this technological advancement is going to be bypassed straight to the benefit stage, which is Marcus Sheridan does not own a Ford F-150. He has a Ford F-150 on his app. And when he needs it at his house, he goes beep, boop. 8:50 in the morning, I need that F-150 to be there because I want to ride in that F-150 and throw my kid's swing set in the back that I need to take to the dump. Beep, boop. And that truck takes you to the dump. You drop off your kid's swing set. You get back in the car. It drops you off. It pulls away and you go back about your day with that car going and doing 4 more pickups throughout the course of the day. And what you needed that day was to get rid of your kid's swing set. You didn't need to have a car sitting in your driveway all day. And I think that is really, really powerful stuff when it comes to driverless cars.
So I think that's all fine and dandy, but I think that's not nearly as important as what I'm getting ready to tell you here, Mr. Hanley. And that is this. When I read that article, first thing I said to myself was, okay, GM could say to themselves, all of this self-driving car and this Lyft and all this new type of ride sharing, it's really bad for our business. It's bad for our business because it means more efficiency, potentially way less cars, right? Because this means less cars, but busier cars. In other words, the cars have less downtime. We got tons of cars with a lot of downtime. And so GM is saying to themselves, you know what? If we have to eat our young, we will, because this is where the consumer is headed. We're going to have self-driving cars. We better swallow the pill. We're going to have ride sharing. We better swallow the pill. And so they're saying to themselves, it might actually, this industry is going to replace what we do essentially, which is sell to the consumer individual cars. People like in my county, and their good old redneck trucks here in Virginia, it's going to cannibalize, as well stated in the sidebar, what they do, and they're willing to be a part of it because, and this is what's so beautiful, because they know this is a tsunami that's coming and you can't resist it. And you better roll with it or you're going to be left behind. There's going to be manufacturers, dude. There's going to be manufacturers that sit around and fight this and put up TV ads talking about how ride sharing is stupid, how it's not safe, and how it's a bad experience, and how there's nothing like owning your own car with your own license plate that's specialized with your own dorky, like whatever phrase is on your license plate, and your own, silly bumper stickers for your political affiliations. There's going to be commercials like this. GM is decades in advance saying, we're all in. This to me is a beautiful example of how we have to roll as businesses. If we got to eat our young, that's what we do.
Dude, so I couldn't agree with that point more. I do think that you're right on the target there with, you think about other things like repeat business, right? So average person buys a car like every 2.5 years. When I don't need to own a car, that doesn't happen anymore. The same car lasts for 10 years. It only needs to be cycled out when it can't drive anymore. Or people won't buy it on their app to take a ride, right? I mean, you're going to get picked through. I mean, even look at things like Uber. I mean, I don't know how often you Uber, but like I have Uber X, Uber whatever, Uber Black, Uber SUV. And it's like, how gangster do I want to roll today? Uber SUV. That's what kind of day it is today. I'm going to the airport in a Tahoe. And, when you can literally scroll through the list of cars you want to be in front of your house, that makes a huge, huge difference. And I mean, I think the driverless cars thing, to me, the whole, like, we love to drive. I have a good friend of mine, coworker, Marty Agather, and co-host on my insurance podcast. He's always talking about how I love to drive. This will never, I'll never go driverless. I love to drive. And I'm like, dude, this is just going to be another thing. And 10 years from now, we're looking around and it's just our lifestyle to not drive anymore. And we're like, oh, remember those days?
Yeah, you remember people used to say, I love my BlackBerry and I'll never let it go.
Yeah.
You will be stoned in the middle of the street if you're seen with a BlackBerry today.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's hard to take someone seriously who carries a BlackBerry today.
So Hanley, interesting article. Let's talk about content.
Yeah, let's get to content marketing.
Interesting article from here on the hot seat section of the show from Mr. Mark Schaefer. Mark Schaefer, as you once told me, loves to poke the bear, and he does a good job at it. Does a good job. Mr. Content Shock, all that jazz. I love Mark. He went to West Virginia University. Makes him intellectually superior. He wrote an article, 5 reasons most content marketing is far behind where it needs to be. 5 reasons. 5 reasons. And he's basically giving his thoughts after he attended a conference on the future of technology and journalism at Columbia University's Pulitzer Graduate School of Journalism. Let me just say this. When you go to these types of events, they can really screw you up from being in touch with reality. And actually, yes, I would lean towards that with my thoughts on this because I think it's way off a lot of it. But I want to hear your thoughts, and we can address them individually because, to me, there are definitive things that I do not align with in this article, and I will go ahead and post it in the sidebar as well if you haven't already done that.
I already did.
Thank you, sir.
So one quick note on what you just said about some of these academic conferences and how you have to be careful. I recently did a review of an article that was written on, God, I can't remember, by a woman named Blake Morgan. She did a fantastic job. She reviewed something on brand, the purpose of brand. And actually, this is going to be a future topic, probably next week for this show. We're going to dive into it. But like the lunacy that comes out of academic thinking around some of these things is, to me, as a person who actually does the work, it's like there is such a disconnect. So I just want to start there. So some of these academic things that come out, we can't take them as gospel just because it's Wharton School of whatever. It's like, yes, but that does not mean that they actually know what they're talking about. It means that they did a study that they needed something to come out of so that they could get it published. That's what it meant. Okay. So I want to get into, I think the first one, which is we're not in the publishing business. We're in the
I got
fashion
high opinions
business.
about this.
Okay. So, well, you hit me with your idea first. I'd like to
Obviously,
hear
I'm
where
more
you are. I
passionate
know where I
about this
stand.
one than you are, so I will start.
Yeah, you wanted to take this one on, so
Okay.
you go for it. You take this one
So
on.
here's the deal. Let me read the anonymous quote here. Nearly every day you can find, advice number 1. We're not in the publishing business, we're in the fashion business. Okay, this is advice number 1. He goes on to say, this is again Mark Schaefer in his article, all right, entitled 5 Reasons Most Content Marketing is Far Behind Where It Needs to Be. He says, nearly every day you can find this tired advice on the web. Companies need to be in the publishing business, that we need to think like a media company. Perhaps that was true 3 years ago, but it's not true anymore. Sure, we might be lucky and get somebody to click on one piece of content and maybe even read it, but how do we get them to come back again? To achieve that, I think we need to think more like the fashion industry, where there is something new happening every day in such a compelling and rapid way that we can't look away. Fundamentally, I don't like this at all. Why? I don't like it at all because let's take, for example, Life of a Pool Guy. Let me tell you right now, the pool industry is not the New York fashion industry, and it ain't even close. Not even close. And so what is a consumer of a swimming pool want? Number 1, they want to choose the right pool. They want to make sure, let's assume they know they want a pool. They want to choose the right pool. They want to choose the right company. They want to get the right accessories with it. They want to make sure that they're not getting ripped off. They want to be informed. That's what they want. That's what they want. And so what it doesn't help to do is to talk about something new every day if you're a pool guy, because guess what? We ain't got a lot of new going on. We don't. It's not ever changing. This is an industry that we need to be, if we want to be great, we want to teach we want to teach people everything we possibly can so that they feel like they are a PhD in buying a swimming pool. That's what we need to do to be successful. It was what we needed to do in 2009. It's what I need to do in 2015. And the reason why Mark is saying this, in my opinion, is he's speaking of big brands, and he's not talking about SMBs. I got a problem with it. It's bad advice. I don't like it. I think it's irresponsible advice.
Yeah, I did wish. So this is one of my big takeaways from this post is I wish that he had put a disclaimer that many of the things that we're about to talk about were big brand or thought leader. Who said it here? Chris Haney said, Schaefer plays in the thought leadership space and he does very well. Not everyone plays in the space. I think that if you are talking head thought leader or big brand, or I guess fashion company, that this maybe retail in general, that this could work as part of your strategy.
If we're going to be
part of your strategy,
we have to put an asterisk next to everything that merits an asterisk. The statement, we can't be publishers, we've got to be fashionists, is irresponsible because it means I'm not thinking more like, it bothers me.
Here's why. What about SEO? So SEO doesn't matter anymore? Getting found in search? Having articles that people find when they have a problem and solve a need doesn't matter
Once again,
anymore?
it might
I would
not
say
matter
that,
to Nike, but it sure as heck matters to
and I'll tell you
to
what,
Joe
Marcus.
Blow
I'll
business
tell you
guy
what.
down the road.
Have you listened to Mitch Joel's podcast today, or with, or he put out 2 days ago, or whenever it was, with whatever the latest one is? The ad industry, it's basically, this guy wrote this book about the death of the ad industry, and it's really, really good. He's not a doom and gloomer. He's just like, here's what's happening, here's what's going on, and Mitch is agreeing with him, and they're talking about all these things, and it's like, he's like, how can you blame an ad agency for not having results when the company doesn't even show up in search? And it's like, so you're telling me that most of these big brands haven't spent the time to properly create long tail content that allows them to show up in search? So why have they been doing that? Could it possibly be because they're chasing the latest craze and pushing out these social media? I'm
gonna have to turn that into
5 seconds. It's ludicrous to me.
All right, it's ludicrous. To me, that was terrible advice. All right, so let's move on to some of these other ones, Hanley. Which one did you want to tackle?
The one that I wanted to tackle.
Again, we're talking about Mark Schaefer's article, 5 Reasons Most Content Marketing is Far Behind Where It Needs to Be.
Okay, so we talked about one that we both kind of disagree with. I want to talk about one that I do agree with, and it's number 5. Okay. It's not short form or long form. It's the right form. And I think the essence of what this one is talking about is that you create on a topic until you've exhausted the value, or you've exhausted the topic in terms of the value you can deliver to it. And he's positioning it in a way that I think in this way very much is good advice, right? So he uses the example of, he wanted to submit a piece of content to one of his clients' blogs for them. It was 2,000 words long, and they said that it had to be trimmed down to their standard of 800, in which an advertising company, which I would guarantee charges more for probably that engagement than either one of us make in a year, said the optimal size for a blog post is 800 words. And therefore, nothing can be longer or shorter than 800 words. It has to be right at 800 words for every blog post. And I think, again, that this is absolutely ludicrous advice. And I'm glad that in this case, Mark is not advocating that. What he's saying is, if you can say everything that needs to be said in a video in 250 words, say it in a video in 250 words. If it takes you 3,000 to exhaust a topic, exhaust the topic. Be the resource. Write as long as it needs to take to get the topic fleshed out of your system. And in that way, I think he's right on the mark here. And I hate saying 750 words, 1,000 words, because it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you've said everything that needs to be said in order for you to make your point. Now, one caveat to this: always put your work through the Hemingway app, because you can get to 2,000 words very quickly through run-on sentences and extra words that you don't necessarily need. And the Hemingway app will take that out of your writing almost immediately.
So, dude, I was passionately against Mark's first one. I thought it was, like I said, bad in every way. But I really like what he has said in the rest of this article. This idea, some idiot espoused this idea of videos shouldn't be longer than 3 minutes because they don't get watched if they're longer than 3 minutes. That, I think, in terms of video, is some of the worst advice in the history of the world. The fact of the matter is, people will watch 30-minute video when they're getting ready to stroke a check for $50,000. They just do. I've seen it over and over again. I saw it for 10 years as a pool guy, because we had a video, Hanley, that was 2 hours that over 50% of the people watched before we got to the home, because we sent it to them as part of our whole sales process. We sent it to them. They watched it. And why? Because they were going to spend money, and a lot of money. Have you ever seen somebody, you get to a buying page and you see a shopping cart and you notice you don't have a coupon and there's a coupon available somewhere and you start searching for it? People do that. They'll search 20 minutes to save $5 for a $5 coupon. Fact of the matter is, everybody's different. What dictates length of video is generally where they are in the buying cycle. If they just started thinking about a pool last night, they don't want to watch a 2-hour video. They don't understand that. Most people don't. Some people do, but most people don't. if they're getting ready to stroke a check for $50,000, they're more than happy and they're thrilled to watch that video. They're very, very happy to do it. Mark is right. And furthermore, we know that the average page one ranking in Google, which we both agree that SEO is as relevant today as it's ever been, okay?
If not more.
If not more, because it's a big stinking deal. Anybody that's coming, especially when they're searching for a very buyer-based type of search, we know that the average page one is over 1,000 words. At the Sales Lion, our highest performing content far and away is above 1,500 words. Far and away. What's more important than the length is the way that it's written in a way that from a psychological perspective, I can look at it, I can skim it well because such good use of subheaders. I tell you what, Ryan Hanley does this really well. And I'm not saying this because he's on here because, you know, I know Ryan Hanley homer. I am, you know what I'm saying? This guy, he uses subheaders incredibly, incredibly well on ryanhanley.com, bolds, and just really mixes it up. And so what it's kind of like this. I go to Hanley's site, and I'll do like most people. I will quickly get a vibe for what he's going to tell me. And then when he gets me excited and jacked up because he's done such a good job laying it out, then I'm going to dive in and actually read the thing, right? And so what's more important than length is the way that we display content so that, you know, and it gets overlooked a lot. It gets overlooked. It's a simple thing that makes a big stinking difference. And it merits being discussed. And so that was a good point by Mark Schaefer. His other points about approaching new platforms urgently, I thought was actually really good as well. Because like we've talked about, Hanley, we do not want to be the next Kmart of our space and be left behind simply because we are too aloof and too married to MySpace.
Yeah, yes, I'm right on there. I think points. So that one I'm 100% for. My one thing with being an early adopter is you have to have the intestinal fortitude to be an early adopter, right? What Mark is talking about is don't wait, go in, learn. You have to have intestinal fortitude for that. If you're going to dive in early on a platform, you have to understand that platform probably not going to produce for you for a while, right? You have to learn and build and work with the technology not working and the different things that are going to happen and persist through it. And if you do, the benefits can be enormous for your business. But you have to be willing to persist through that. And I think a lot of times what happens is companies jump in and they don't persist through that dip, right? That Seth Godin dip that inevitably happens, and they never end up catching that upswing. The last thing I want to talk about, and I think it really talks to what you were talking about formatting, and I appreciate the ego stroking there. That definitely makes my night for sure. But points 3 and 4 to me are similar. Points 3 is storytelling in a glance, and I'll describe that in a second. And then storytelling 4 is it's a silent world. And really what these two are talking about is understanding the ecosystem in which you are sharing your content. So I firmly believe that everything we talked about in terms of content creation, we are absolutely publishers. Length absolutely matters. Depth in terms of richness of content, not just depth in terms of how far down the page you can push people matters. But when it comes to sharing that content, I do think that there's not a one size fits all, and that we have to be very intelligent with how we share today. And what I mean by that is, and I think this It's a Silent World makes complete sense. Every platform today plays video without the sound until you activate the sound, right? Every single platform, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, video is all silent. The first, think about YouTube, right? You have the first 5 seconds of a YouTube video if you're using ViewStream or ViewThrough, whatever it's called, View, whatever. You have the first 5 seconds until that person hits skip ad. So you have to be very cognizant of how, right? So the first 5 or the 30-second video that you only get really the first 5 before they can skip on a YouTube video, that video has to be different, even if it's marketing the same product, than the video that you share on Facebook. It has to be loud. It has to be catchy. It has to attract the perfect audience in those first 5 seconds. The YouTube video or the Facebook video could play all 30, all minute, all 3 minutes, however long it is, And people need to be able to understand what that video is without ever hearing a word. And though this is just one kind of microcosm of sharing into an ecosystem, I think it's a really valid point in that considering what takes place in that space, how does the content need to be shared relevant to this particular community in order for them to engage with it? And just hitting the tweet button and the Facebook button and the like button and the Google Plus button in the Pinterest button and being like, done, that is not a content promotion strategy. That is how you waste a valiant effort in creating what could be a remarkable piece of content. That is just wasting that content if that's your promotion strategy.
Hanley, time to come to a close. The one thing, sir, the one thing that you will take from this episode. Do you know your one thing? If you want to share your one thing in the sidebar, let us know what it is. So here's my one thing. Here's my one thing as I think about this. So another I think it's important. Like I said, I love Mark Schaefer. I spent 5 minutes ripping Mark Schaefer, and we spent another 5 to 10 minutes giving Mark Schaefer a lot of credit. I don't think we do that enough, period. And we feel like we either have to support everything or we have to go against it. We either have to hate everything a political party believes or we have to love it. That's the same. It's where we are. I think it's important that we're able to as free thinkers, to pick and choose and say, this thing that Schaefer said, I think is terrible. And here's why. These other things that he said is awesome, and here's why. And if Schaefer heard me say that, he would celebrate it because that's how he rolls. And I think that's the way we need to think as business owners and as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
What's your one thing, brah?
This was a Marcus episode. You crushed it tonight. Yeah, this is definitely a Marcus episode. That's all I got.
Yo, Hanley.
I want to let Spy Gadget Rentals, Monty Henry 1, know that we are going to answer both your questions, as soon as we're done with the podcast recording. So appreciate everyone for being here tonight. This is always fantastic. We had a really good crowd, some really, really incredible comments. And I love that. I feel like when we get a good crowd and the live audience is cranking the comments, it gets the adrenaline going even quicker. And it was really fantastic. This is good stuff.
Good stuff. And as a girl once told me, Hanley, to close this episode in high school, you're just another story I can't tell anymore.
That's freaking harsh. Jesus. Was that your wife?
That's great. That's great. Is that a great quote or what? Isn't that a great